Now, I have talked about the Christian understanding of patriarchy. Now I'm going to talk about how does this all tie in with creating fatherhood out of fatherless men. Having established that Christian patriarchy is actually a very good thing, I'm going to show you how it plays a vital role in creating fatherhood in fatherless men. People who look at Christianity from the outside might think it's all about taking the human concept of father and applying it to God. And they might expect that this would be a bit of a problem for fatherless people. But actually, what God does is much more profound. In fact, if we look at how God reveals himself chronologically through the Bible, it works the other way round. At the beginning, you have God, and you learn through the Bible about all his amazing roles, such as an authority, a creator, protector, provider, teacher and redeemer, and many other things. And you also discover all his amazing personal qualities, such as being reliable, patient, merciful, all-seeing, all-knowing, sometimes punitive, while being charitable and the source of all love. Then the Old Testament reveals that this God, with all his roles and qualities, is God the Father. But at this stage, he is presented as Father in a rather distant and abstract sort of a way. This is profoundly changed in the New Testament with the birth of Jesus. For Jesus persistently and perpetually refers to God as his Father and teaches us to refer to God as our Father. And when Jesus teaches us this, he's not using the formal word for father, but the common Aramaic word Abba, which a child would use to address his father. It means daddy, but with more reverence. What happens at this moment when man learns that God is his father is nothing short of revolutionary. I think back to what Warren Farrell says in his book. The desire to be a father begins in his son, who sees in his own dad who he could become. When man learns that God is his father, he is presented with a model of the qualities he should have and the sorts of things which he should do when he becomes a father. When a man learns the qualities required for fatherhood, this also helps him to understand the requirements of being a man. In this way, God's fatherhood is able to generate fatherhood and therefore manhood in improperly fathered or fatherless men. So when God tells men he is their father, it becomes incumbent on men to take responsibility for others in the same way that God does, through their own fatherhood. And when God tells men he is their father, men are encouraged to manifest in their fatherhood the same sorts of qualities which they see manifest in God. And it is the requirements of fatherhood which shape what it means to be a man. What we see happening is that just as women, as mothers, are called to serve God by giving birth to God's physical, biological creations, sons and daughters, men are called to serve God by trying, in their own inadequate way, to imitate the qualities of God, but to do so in their own family. When God encourages men in this way, it has an incredibly beneficial effect on society as a whole. For as Jeff Dench points out, some of the essential characteristics attributed to God are sometimes found in short supply in men. For example, if we think of someone who is all-seeing, ever vigilant, eternally patient, it is a traditional mother that comes to mind. The image of a father conjured up by God is the sort of man that most women would like to have in their families as their fathers, their husbands or sons. Men who are strong, who can hold their own among other men, but who are also caring and responsive and can be called upon and relied upon. This is what patriarchy makes of men. And it is this which feminists have, with their hatred of patriarchy, been so keen to destroy. I have something else to say. Fatherhood, as we understand it, that is, fathers who have a unique parental role which differs distinctly from the role of the mother, do not exist in nature. Fathers, as beings who have a particular relationship to their children and to their children's mother, are a human social invention. It is fatherhood which makes human beings a distinctive creation. And it is only with patriarchy that fatherhood emerged. So when feminists try to get rid of fathers in order to destroy patriarchy, they don't just destroy patriarchy, they destroy fatherhood and ultimately humanity itself. And this is why we must not be complicit in the feminists' desire to dismantle patriarchy. Rather, we should defend it, albeit, as I have outlined, in its egalitarian and harmonious Christian form. I just want to explain some of the practical ways in which patriarchy is essential to fatherhood. 3 easily identifiable characteristics of fatherhood are procreation, protection, and provisioning. All of these require men to have an edge when it comes to accessing certain forms of power, publicly available status and resources. This is what patriarchy is about. So, for example, studies of female mate selection show that women select men who have more resources or authority than themselves. Not only that, research suggests that man's earnings in relation to his wife can influence his capacity to perform sexually. In fact, I would go so far as to hypothesize that the decline in sexual activity between men and women, which has been documented in our society, could be linked to the increase in status and earnings of women in relation to men. Therefore, procreation itself is dependent on men having slightly more access to publicly available status and resources, which is a characteristic of patriarchy. Likewise, male provisioning is particularly important because human infants take so long to both mature physically and in terms of acquiring culture and being socialised. And while some anthropologists are keen to point to the provisioning roles of female relatives, such as aunts and grandmothers, other research shows that the provisioning role of non-maternal females is only adequately performed when the father of the infant is around. Now, for men to play this provisioning role, they need to have the edge when it comes to accessing resources, i.e., by giving men a slightly stronger position in the public realm, men will be better able to provide. Therefore, we should pay particular attention to the employment and education of men. Finally, while in traditional societies protection depends on physical strength and stamina, in modern societies protection requires other things as well. So, for example, in order to protect his family, men require social networks, knowledge, and the ability to garner resources, knowledge of the workings of the economy, or knowledge of the government agenda, or even the workings of nature. All these things will help a man to protect. This protective role will be facilitated when men have a greater fluency and understanding of the public realm and the world outside the home. And it is patriarchal structures which give men this greater understanding of the public realm. Therefore, patriarchy, as I have described it, is absolutely essential to society. It is only through fatherhood that men can have an as equal and as vital a place as women in the family. And it is only where society has a patriarchal structure that it can enable men to perform this equal fatherly role. It is only by believing that they have that ultimate responsibility for the spiritual and material well-being of their families that men will have the toughness and resilience and endurance required to make sacrifices for their family, which both women and men should make. Christianity did not invent patriarchy. However, it's only with Christianity that we get patriarchy in not just a benign, but a creative, nurturing, protective and beneficial form. It is only with Christianity that we have a patriarchy which allows for equality within hierarchy, authority without domination, service without servitude, and love without sentimentality. It is only Christian patriarchy which creates interdependence out of independence, and raises up those who are invisible, and enables leaders to lead from the back. For the past 3 generations, feminists have been engaged in destroying this patriarchy, and this has pushed men out of the family, out of the workplace, and out of society. There is no place left for men. Insofar as we've simply denied the existence of patriarchy, we have been complicit in its destruction. And by denying the existence of patriarchy, we have effectively allowed feminists to define the narrative and the terms of the argument. What I have tried to show here is that patriarchy, Christian patriarchy as we had in the West, strives towards a perfect way of organising society. It is time we stopped arguing with feminists about the existence of patriarchy. Instead of denying its existence, we should seek it out and embrace it. Because if we want to get rid of feminism, then it is time to bring Christian patriarchy back. Thank you.